let me try to explain why Houseki No Kuni or Illustrator is a soul-shattering anime and absolutely one of the best animes I've ever seen in my life. And I have seen a lot of animes. So I think, first and foremost though, this is a very spoiler-heavy video. I'm gonna take a lot of my favorite scenes from this anime, which I think illustrates what I'm talking about, right? So if you haven't watched the anime yet, you should watch it before, but maybe otherwise this video will hopefully get you to watch the anime generally. So the first thing I want to really talk about when it comes to Houseki No Kuni is how existential it is. Houseki No Kuni for me is primarily about life and death and meaning of life, right? So we're following the main character, Phos IT, or Phos to call it, of course, and it's all about her being the youngest of all these gems and being very, very, I would say weak, but always complaining about everything and so on. I think especially one scene that I think really shows that is where Phos is considering cutting on her own arms. So we know that Phos earlier in his scene lost her legs, which improved the power and so on. And then later on in the anime, she's like, man, if I cut off my own arm, then I could grow stronger. By cutting off my own body pieces, by doing that, Phos will lose some of memory, will lose some of herself, but she will improve, right? I think that's all about. I think this scene is definitely the best scene I think in the anime. It really shows you the depth of this anime. I think this anime is really all about that. What is the meaning of life? As I mentioned again here, but the existentialism of what is it to be. Because we see the main character, it's like enormous struggle all the time. Even if Phos improves later in the end of the anime, it's still a lot of struggling. What's happened to me now? What's this happening? And so on. And that's why I think the anime gets so emotional. Not just because it's very, very beautiful and the scenery is amazing and so on, I'll come to that later, but I think generally, because it feels a lot like this anime is trying to tackle those issues with like, why am I alive? What is this world? So while we following Phos, both exploring this weird world with weird enemies, weird other characters, we're also following in this melancholy of why am I alive? So in that sense, also feels it's very Japanese, I would say. It's an anime, but yeah, it's very Japanese because, like, man, this is a very gray zone kind of ideology, right? I think it's very, very interesting. But of course, the anime is on as well. The character development in this anime is really fantastic. One of its absolutely strongest things after its genre, I would say, and it really combines with that what is to be alive, right? Because we see the character development in the character's personality by an extreme measurement, but also just awareness and everything. So in the beginning, Phos is this very bumbling buffoon that no one kind of likes. They kind of like Phos, but they also kind of irritate all the time on Phos. And I think it's very interesting because as we don't get the world either, we as the viewer don't understand how this world works. We don't get how this world works, so on. So we are a lot of Phos. So it's very empathizing for us to watch Phos and see Phos fail all the time, and we can really relate to Phos and get to really enjoy Phos as a character. And then it's really shockingly strong character development. So sooner in the anime, we get this like really serious Phos, right? We get this like hardcore fighting Phos. It scares all the other characters. It scared me as a viewer. I think it's a very, very amazing character development, how extremely strongly Phos changes the character, and how that affects everyone else around Phos. And I think that also makes it a very interesting anime, because we are following a character that went from the absolutely most inexperienced character to the most badass warrior they had, or has, I guess. And it's very, very particular how they do it in the anime. So I think that's absolutely a strong point of the anime. And as well with that, we also have this very interesting way there, because the other games, they all have the personalities, they're all kind of quirky, they all do their own stuff, and then that follows that, okay, so how did they act to Phos before, then we saw some of the quirks, and then after Phos transformation, that happens a couple of times during this season, we see how they react to Phos afterwards, how they are no quirkiness, stick up to other areas and so on, so it also helps us learn and teach us about the other characters as well, not just Phos. Like how does Bort act to Phos, how does Diamond act to Phos now, etc. So it is a very, very well written, extremely well written character development and characterization of the characters. The last part that really combines with the anime's great characterization and sensitivity is the scenery. The scenery is something that everyone loves in this anime, everyone mentions, and of course I agree, the scenery is amazing in this anime, but I think first and foremost the scenery, we can talk about how it's done right, like this scene here, which I think is a very good scene. We look at this, how they use the color scheme, and how the angle makes it look more impactful. It's a lot of very well done production value. I could talk for an hours, but I want to talk more about this feeling of it, right? I think it works so well in this anime, the scenery, the kind of wallpaper feel of it. This has a lot of scene in it, because this anime is so tragic, right? And again, so existentialism. Because you watch the anime, you feel that, what's the meaning of life? That's kind of the feeling you have constantly watching the anime, right? And you constantly feel for Phos and the other yams, and you feel sad, but also happy, good stuff happens. And I think it's so good combination. It's called like this in here, I've seen probably similarly, where it shatters. Where Phos' mind shatters, learning some secrets of the world, and you see how the whole screen and the whole world feels like, okay, that you shattered my present, it shattered the whole anime. And I think that would make the scenery so impactful this anime. It's not that it's physically very, very beautiful. I think that the combination of that with the storyline, with the amazing written storyline, that really makes it work. I think that's something that's very, very crucial to point out here. Because yes, there are other scenes, like the running scene, which where probably where I really fell in love with this anime, episode 3, where I feel like, man, this scene is so beautiful, music is great in this scene, and you really feel like, wow, this anime is gonna go somewhere, definitely. But I think it still is the mystery of it, the symbolism. So this again, right, with the Buddhist, the Hindu and the Buddhist of the whole Lunarians and the music they attract, because every time the Lunarians appear, we do get a very, I would say, very beautiful scenery, right? And they look very, very breathtakingly beautiful, but they are the scary ones. They are the enemy. I think that makes it again this weird sensation of, is the enemy beautiful, or is it just very, very melancholy? I hope you say what I mean, but I think that's something that's very, very crucial to remember talking about anime. It's not just that it's very beautiful wallpapers, it's that every scene has a lot of meaning to them and a lot of emotion in them. Okay, let's talk about the fun stuff then. It's about the comedy. I think it's very important to first know that it's not like One Piece, it's not like the other slapstick shonen anime. Stuff is happens, right? And it's also not like an anime like Gamers, so some Gamers in here, because in Gamers, you can go and watch the scene. You can go and watch this episode 1 of Gamers here, you can go and watch it again, you can see it several times, and it's an anime you can kind of just go, you watch a YouTube clip, laugh a little bit, right, and go out again. I have a hard time going and re-watching Hoshino no Kuni scenes. Yes, they are funny, but it's hard like re-watching them, because Hoshino no Kuni is very, very different than what we currently see right now. This is a typical like relationship kind of anime, misunderstanding anime, definitely Gamers, but the jokes here are of course the references, the characters' relationship, how they act each other and so on. Hoshino no Kuni is much more different. It's nothing I could see here. Hoshino no Kuni has no really like slapstick comedy. Hoshino no Kuni is a very like, you have to be in the anime, you have to be really focused, you have to be really like, okay, what's happening right now, to really get the jokes, I feel. But I also think there's one thing that Hoshino no Kuni really works at the comedy, and I'll come and show it later again, is that Hoshino no Kuni's comedy is also, again, I will say, it's not depressing, but it's kind of like, that's kind of sad. It's like, yeah, that is sad. No, this is happening, and I feel sad when I see it, but I also feel happy, right? So it's very particular. For example, this scene here, where Phos is combating the Aqua, right? And it's like, what is happening? And everyone is like, what was it? Yeah, like, this is of course kind of the classic quirkiness of Phos, and it's funny. It's funny, not the level of the best scene in Hoshino no Kuni, but it's kind of funny. But some other scene that really makes it work stand out is the other comedy scenes that they just kind of throw in Hoshino no Kuni. I think that's what really makes it a good comic relief in Hoshino no Kuni, is that we have this drama, we have this character dying, we have this character being betrayed or whatever, and then suddenly we have this like really weird comic relief. Like this scene in particular, I think I really love what is the ice scene. And Phos is like, yeah, I'm just gonna like trade my sword still. And we see an art again in the background, like flying around, doing this badass, cutting through the ice rocks. And Phos is standing there like, yeah, I'm doing my stuff here. I'm learning sword war. Like that is just really hilarious. I have this chase scene with Phos and Cinnabar. They really love throwing those weird comic relief scenes. I think that's what makes it really work well in Hoshino no Kuni, is that you're really into the anime, you really kind of get that, okay, this is like a really funny scene, but you have to really be into it. I think it's very interesting. That's my point here, because at least I have personally a hard time re-watching Houseki No Kuni scenes, like 1 minute there, 1 minute there. It's definitely an anime you have to really get into it, really watch the whole episode, or at least the whole scene, like episode 10 minutes here and there and so on. And that makes the jokes be, I would say, more powerful in a way, but they're also, of course, very, very less slapstick. They're very much less bam. They're much more subtle. They're much more detailed on the jokes and so on, which I think is a very good point in anime, but also something that makes it very different. I think that's something we all feel, I guess, that the anime is very, very different. I mean, sure, the anime has quirky characters and quirky scenes, but I think primarily that the comedy is the comic relief, though. The comic relief combined with this, like, this shouldn't be funny, this should be tragic, but it's kind of funny, is the strength of it, more than its quirkiness. That being said, though, let's talk about the tragedy again. So yeah, the anime is super tragic. There is some amazing emotional scenes in this anime. I mean, this is ridiculous emotional. And it's hard, you talk about it, it's hard for me, literally, sit here right now and record and talk about this scene, but I think they are so emotionally powerful. I think especially this scene here, when Phos is crying gold, is extremely emotional. I think the anime is extremely beautiful, right? And it's just very, very tragic. But I think one thing that makes it work so well is a thing they established very early in the anime. And that is a Sisyphus task load this character has. So what that means is that a character, right? Sisyphus is the story of the person that's in Hades and pulling up this rock. And as soon as the rock is at the top of the summit, the rocks fall down again and he has to keep pushing it up, right? I think that Sinyamar, for example, has that life. When she does something, you just walk alone in these woods and you just do everything over and over night again, right? And Phos, in the beginning of the anime, is all about, like, why do we have this life? Why do we have this life where we are 1,000 years old and we just do the exact same thing every day and we get little worse? I think that's something that a lot of people don't mention, but I personally think that's a very, very strong thing here. That why it's tragic, and Sinyamar and Phos's promise that Phos is kind of trying to get Sinyamar a better job, right? Because, like, man, you're doing the same thing alone and it's really, really boring, it's really mundane. Like, why do you life have any meaning, right? And Sinyamar feels betrayed about it. I think that is something that's really, really is a strong thing in the anime. And that, again, then of course, as I like to talk about, is the existentialism, right? Because back to why are you alive, what's the meaning of life, it's just doing this band-aid, just doing the same thing over and over again, scientific stuff. I mean, there's something that just makes the anime feel so much more tragic. Of course, the anime is extremely well illustrated, extremely well done scenes, but I think generally that kind of narrativeness, we are following characters, we know they have pretty bad lives, right? They have very mundane lives, they have very repetitive lives, and over again we see them fail, but they never give up, and it's just really emotional. So the last point I want to make with anime is so good is the battles. The battle is anime actually, first of all, they're particularly good, I think. They're actually surprisingly good animated for CGI. And a lot of people talk about, oh, the CGI, blah, blah, blah. But I think that one particular thing core is that CGI works well in anime because it is kind of an uncanny valley from the beginning. They are gems, they are rigid, so you can expect them to be rigid. But particularly though, the battles work well because they are so unsure what's going to happen. They're so unpredictable, right? You just watch the anime and you do think it really feels dramatic because you're not sure if the character that you're rooting for is gonna live or not. Will they be shattered? Will they take a bullet? And I mean, the character gets shattered all the time in this anime, so you're never sure who's gonna survive or not. If they're gonna get taken by the Niers, you never know. And that's something that no other show I've seen in the recent past have been close. This is my favorite scene, by the way, here with Antarctica. And it's like, don't speak, Phos, you speak quiet. I love this scene. Best scene by far, but mentioned it for video. Yeah, absolutely good scene. But generally, I mean, it's a very gruesome anime. People get shattered, you see it, I mean, it looks very, very horrible. But I think generally, though, it's all about this constant drama, right? We don't really know what's gonna happen. I mean, we know that Phos lost legs, Phos lost arms. I mean, even before you know it, you don't really know what's gonna happen. I think it really makes the battle stand out so much in anime, because even other shows, like a horror show, you know that, oh, they're probably gonna lose a character every now and then, but not every episode or never, so it just makes the battle here very, very strong. So anyway, I hope you liked this review. Subscribe, I would love if you comment about it, and I'll see you guys in this next year of anime.